Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. On this episode, we are going to be talking to the founder of Easy Webinar, Casey Zeman, on how you can grow your real estate business. We're going to break down the framework of high converting webinars. We're going to share a bunch of ideas that work for real estate, like virtual open houses, virtual first-time buyer seminars, virtual seller masterclasses, and many more. And not only that, we're going to talk about how you can automate the entire thing for a never-ending stream of leads. If you have any questions, put them in the box down below. If you like what you see, hit the like button and subscribe for future videos, and we'll see you on the inside. Welcome, everybody. I'm very excited to be sitting here today with Casey Zeman, the founder of Easy Webinar, and we're going to be diving into all sorts of tactical ways that you can use webinars to grow your business. I think that right now, as we head into a more virtual world, I think webinars are going to become more commonplace, and you have some really exciting ways that people are winning with webinars that we can kind of dive into. You were in real estate for a while. You were doing very good, successful, closing deals. Then came the Great Recession. That kind of punched all of us in the face. Right. And then at that point in time, you kind of transitioned into online marketing, doing more of that. You created a YouTube course. It wasn't really selling at all until you had the aha of running those YouTube ads to a webinar, at which point things started converting, and that's when you started selling again and making money.
That's exactly right. Yep.
That's very cool. So on that note, what do you think has been the key to success for you in the webinar space? Because I mean, 11,000 plus subscribers, that's a ton of subscribers. Obviously you've done hundreds, if not thousands of webinars. What do you think is kind of the key to success at having a good webinar?
You know, the thing that I see that stops people from doing webinars is their mental block of they have to be a neuro-linguistic expert, or they have to, you know, be like a sales ninja or a tech ninja to be able to even run webinars. And 9 times out of 10, like that's the reason people don't do webinars. They also think that they see like gurus who are like, say, hey, I can do, 6 figures on a webinar. And typically what they're not hearing is that like that 6 figures is was probably what they're doing, how long it took them to get to that point, first off. But also a lot of times that's not like in one webinar. That's using systems of webinars as a sales tool to get to that 100K, whether it's per year, per month, right? Or every 10 days or something, right? So anyway, what we see, that stops people. And so what I typically tell people is that when I started out, I did no pitch webinars where I just provided value and I was sincere. So I just showed who I was. I basically, told my story, right? Shared who I was. And I basically shared value. So I was a classic oversharer. When I first started doing webinars, I was stuttering a lot. I was like, I would have ums and ahs everywhere. And I was terrible at doing webinars. But then the thing that saved me was that sharing so much value, like I was so consumed with wanting to provide value that I was selling because of the value I was leading with. So if you have 2 things, sincerity and value, you're going to succeed. Those are the 2 things, but don't let everything else stop you. Like, yes, there are frameworks that can help you. Like I have a 6 steps to a high converting sales webinar framework that people take advantage of. But if I give it to people, then I say, listen, if this is going to even cause you too much of a barrier, throw it away and just do 2 things. Get online, get on something like this, put yourself in front of the camera, share extreme value, and then, and just show who you are, right? Try to be the best version of yourself, when you get in front of people. And yes, you'll find success there. Because
I like that. And I just I think you hit that really well on the head. You said sincerity and value. Because I think to your point about what stops a lot of people is, I don't know what to say. I'm going to sound robotic. I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And the reality is none of that really matters as long as you're coming across authentic and not trying. If you're not a super salesy person, don't try to be super salesy and just talk one-on-one, face-to-face, or ideally one-to-many, and talk about the value that you can bring. and do it in a way that is, you know, entertaining and adds value.
And that's what a lot of people, you know, I've had people, customers, clients come up to us. They've used frameworks or like webinar scripts before and have tried them, and they've not succeeded at all because they were out of alignment with what it was, right? Like it didn't fit with who they were, right? So they were maybe fit within it was like a cookie cutter frame, like a slide by slide thing, right? And they just did not resonate, connect with people. And so I always say, like, a framework is kind of oftentimes better than, you know, a cookie cutter slide 1 needs to do this, slide 2 needs to do this. You know what I mean? A lot of times I like to just get on. Some of my most high converting webinars are where I get in front of the camera with somebody and I do a Q&A, or I do, you know, or I start off like this, move to some slides after welcoming people to come in my webinar and things like that, you know, just showing me personally more. And I think that that not every webinar, you know, framework is going to fit you, right? Or what webinar slide by slide, you know, sort of thing is going to fit within you. So what you want to start to think of is just like more of a framework and how it can serve you to show how best you are in front of people. So if you can't, you know, you don't like to get in front of the camera, you don't have to. But you might be better in getting in front of the camera. You might be better just, you know, putting yourself out there and connecting with people. So just do what feels better to you. You know? Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. And in either case, if you like getting in front of the camera or don't, just do it that way.
Yeah.
Do it whatever way feels good for you. It may not serve you
to get in front of the camera. You might be like, you know, whatever. I don't know. Like you may not like. It might not serve you at all. Like if you know. To get in front of the camera. And you just have to feel that out. And maybe at some point you start to get more confident in getting in front of the camera and you feel like you want to connect with people and talk to them. This is an evolution. This is not something that you just boom, you know, do. I mean, public speaking, you know, one of the biggest fears is speaking in person to people, you know? And one of the weirdest things is to look at this plastic piece of thing on my computer and say, I have to talk into you and feel like I'm talking to someone on the other end. So it's not easy. It's foreign. It feels funky, you know? So it's like, you have to work at it. You know, you have to get used to hearing yourself.
And on the note of working at it, I think that really is the name of the game, because your first one, just like your first video, your first webinar versus your 100th one is going to be night and day different. But you got to get through the first 100 to get to the 100th one.
Oh man, yeah. When I was first doing my videos, like I had a video like this. Like I was like, "Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Casey." And I was like, it was late at night. I had my big Jufro. It was crazy, man. I was just crazy looking. And I was like, I used to do those type of videos. That's crazy. But you have to start somewhere, and you have to just like, you know, go at that B-, man. Just accept being not that A+, right?
Because it's okay. It does work if you're authentic and you bring value.
Those are the two things. I have a 6-step framework that I teach, which, you know, like when you come onto a webinar, you know, it's the way to keep people on a webinar and to get them to basically the sale, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to break down your 6 steps to building a 6-figure webinar here in a minute. But I want to first start because, like I was telling you earlier, our audience is mainly real estate. And I want to make sure that they can connect the dots on how they can implement webinars into their business in an effective way. And we were kind of brainstorming a little bit, but I wrote down a couple ideas, and then I want to kind of get your thoughts on those. And also hear how other agents that are using your platform are using it to win. But there's all the sorts of things that you could set up as a webinar. For example, you could do first-time buyer seminars completely digital through a webinar. You could do a selling your house masterclass where you kind of just hit all the high points, set it up as a webinar, and do some sort of a close at the end to do a free consultation, no cost, no obligation, to generate inbound leads, right? You could do things like how to do your first 1031 exchange for your move-up buyers. You could do What if your house is upside down on equity, right? Do a short sale type webinar where you're educating, you're bringing value, you're showing your knowledge, you're doing it in a way that relates to people, and you can automate, right, to your point,
Yeah.
and run over and over and over again. And then another one that you just were talking about before the call that I didn't even write down, which I love, is virtual open houses, and how you can basically do an entire open house now through a webinar. So why don't you tell me kind of a little bit about your thoughts on those couple things, and then we'll go into your 6-step framework for really crushing it on webinars.
Yeah, and so my 6 steps are basically most of the time, the people that leverage the 6 steps, they're selling something at the end. So it's a course or product or something. For webinars that are pitching more of a consult or a coaching session or an intake call or something, a lot of the framework still actually remains, except the pitch, right? The pitch is different. You're not going to be pitching on a webinar to sell a course, right? Unless you're trying to sell someone into a course on on short selling that then leads them into becoming a client later on with a listing, right? Which
and just to clarify, I think for most people in the real estate space, I'd say the win would be if they can generate a phone call, either an inbound phone call or an opt-in that says, hey, I saw your webinar, I'd like to learn more, let me do a follow-up. So just kind of right in the wheelhouse of what you were just saying.
Yeah, and so we have clients like this guy Terry Hunter who mentioned something on a webinar recently. He was like, "Hey, I just want to let you." I was like, "Oh, so how many?" I was like, "Who? Real estate agents? Who's using it?" I said, "Who's using it to get the call? Right? Who's using the platform Easy Webinar to book a consult?" And he was like, "I use it. I'm a real estate agent." And what he was doing was really interesting. And this is where education, leading with education, warms up everyone, right? Warms up your ideal client. And if you have a specific niche within real estate, right, as an agent, that's obviously even better. Almost maybe not totally necessary, but like as an example, he has an ebook. Don't ask me the title. I don't know it, but he said, what I do is I drive traffic from my Amazon ebook listing, right? People buy my book probably for like negligible amounts, right? 99 cents or something like that. Or it's free ebook. And then every page of the ebook has the link to his workshop, right? So his free workshop where they can learn more. So each of the chapters, each of the pages have it at the bottom in the footer, and at the end of the book, he's also promoting, hey, if you want to learn more, I have a masterclass or I have a workshop all about it here. Click here. Then they go, and it's only 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute workshop, right?
I love that idea, by the way.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be. This is the thing about it. On a webinar that you're selling something off of, and that's the world I came from, right? Like, it is way harder to actually sell something off a webinar than it is to actually book a strategy call, right? You have to highlight the problem, agitate the problem, reveal a kind of a common solution that everybody is doing that's not working, and then highlight the uncommon solution, which is your practice or something to that effect. And now, hey, book a call if you want to see if we're a good fit, or if I can help you with implementing this in your business, or implementing this with your next listing or something like that, right? You can do that in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, if people are coming from this ebook, they're probably already getting sort of indoctrinated, right? In his methodology, his concepts. Then they're moving to a webinar. They hit a registration page that are like, oh yeah, same copy resonates, right? So there's continuity of copy coming from the ebook to the page that they're going to, right? On that, they register, comes to a thank you page. On that thank you page, he has a video of himself, probably the first time they're seeing a video, but it talks about, some of his story. It's just like, it's probably a 5-minute video that touches on, some of his story, how he got to where he got, what he can do for people, why they have to show up to this workshop to be able to achieve the results that they're looking for. And how, right? And so probably does some housekeeping, like, okay, here's the link for the webinar. You can click it. You can share news of the webinar, to your social media, save it in your calendar, right? So all these things are basically steps to nurture and to warm somebody up, right? Every step, from reading something to hitting a registration page to coming to a thank you page where his video is, to then getting emails before the webinar starts, to then coming to the webinar. And in the webinar, he starts off with probably like creating an expectation for people of what they're going to get, what they're going to be able to achieve by the end of the workshop. Tell them maybe how long the workshop is going to be, and he takes them down the path. And then at 20 minutes in or 10 minutes in, he starts to let people know that they can book a strategy call. The strategy button pops right up. Boom, they click it, takes them to a calendar page where they can book a call right there into his calendar, right? They put their phone number, they maybe have an application or a survey or all the above. Like, we have a funnel like this that takes people from the webinar into a book your time in the calendar, that then takes them to an application. So we have them go to a calendar, they put their time in for the calendar, and then we say, you have to fill out the application for us to even, look at your, book that time, right? If you book it and don't apply, then we're not gonna actually, honor that meeting, right? So that's also how you make sure you're getting qualified leads, right? You don't want to just get someone who's like, yes, I would love to sell, I would love to buy a house, but I have no money down, right? The application, that process, the indoctrination, the flow, it makes sure you get the right people on the phone.
I love that. I love that. And I think that that's, again, back to bridging the gap on how real estate people can use webinars in their business. I love what you said there, because everyone in real estate has a follow-up campaign. Most people have a database where they're sending out regular email communications. They're sending out regular mail pieces. But how easy would it be to record a 20-minute webinar and put that little blurb at the bottom of every email, at the bottom of every mail piece that just says, hey, if you're interested, I have a first-time home buyer seminar and a home seller masterclass here and here. Go check those out. And then if I heard you say what I think I heard you say is Easy Webinar actually can have a button inside of the webinar as it plays that you can queue up, so where they can just hit the button and then that goes to your calendar link so they can straight just schedule an appointment right there, all like that.
Yeah. So
that's killer.
With Easy Webinar, obviously it does live webinars very similar to like what we're using here. But ours, you can push buttons, like call to action buttons, you can push polls and things like that. You can also do that with automated. So you can have a button show up at a specific time and go away at a specific time, right? The other thing is that all of those things can be synced up with whatever CRM system you're using or email provider, so that the people that are clicking on those buttons. How much people are watching. If they click the button.
That's great.
And or don't click the button after they see it. And then you can have follow-up emails based upon those actions. Say, hey, you saw that, that I was, you stuck around to the end of my webinar and you saw that, I was doing calls for prospective clients. Is there something that I could help you with? Was there a reason why you weren't able to get on a call? So you can make those post webinar experiences very specific to the actions performed, and get really dialed into the right people.
That is very cool. That is very cool. That's something I could even see us using for recruiting. I mean, there's tons of different ways where you could plug these little webinars into your business. And if they're all automated, I mean, you could really build a back end that can produce a lot of leads for you.
Yeah.
And convert.
Now, when you say recruiting, what do you mean?
Like if I wanted to recruit agents to join my brokerage, I feel like that would be a great sales tool to be done over a webinar that could be automated, along with everything else you're doing, right? So that, I think, is what the big takeaway is. This is not a standalone. It could be, I guess, but in reality, if you add this on to what you're already doing, it could really help conversions go through the roof.
Absolutely. We had people that we had statistics done where they added a webinar into what they were doing. And the webinar leads had a 381% higher value than leads that came in anywhere else.
Wow.
And actually the reason being was because more people bought or more people converted to clients because of the webinar, right? The webinar did a lot of the heavy lifting that you may have to do every single time you get on a phone call.
Right. It probably just moves them along the process faster because it answers all their questions. You can overcome objections in advance.
Yep.
I love that.
That's the idea. Just saves you time, you know, like gives you, so you're not always dealing with having to do the same thing over and over again. If you have common things you've always said when you're talking to a client that you're trying to convert, you know, then that's just what you put in a webinar, right?
Yep.
And then you handle that, you do it, boom, the webinar's done. Now it's just a question of closing people, you know?
Yep.
And then reframing it. So now it's about, hey, I only have this much space for new clients coming in, right? But let's see if you're the right fit based on, you know, what you're looking for. So it's just flip-flopping the conversation, right? It's flip-flopping you're in the power position at that point, you know?
Yeah, you're just replacing work with automation.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. Okay, cool. So those are some really great ideas on how real estate people can implement webinars in their business. Now I want to kind of go into your 6 steps to building a 6-figure webinar, because I think that another one of the roadblocks that people probably face is just, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do it. How long should it be? Blah, 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 blah. So I'd like to kind of run through your framework on the 6-figure webinar. And let's see, step 1 is building a buzz. So let's start there. I'm guessing that has to do with promoting and actually getting people to show up.
Well, so actually the 6 steps are after someone starts showing up to the webinar. So there are many things you have to do before getting, you know, promoting the webinar.
So let's table promoting the webinar until after this, and let's go back to the 6 steps. So now we're actually on the webinar. This is how to break down the webinar itself.
That's basically it. I mean, there's so many things, like my 24/7 will show you how to actually promote your webinar. So I have a webinar on our website that's Sell Your Stuff 24/7. That actually teaches you how to get people onto your workshop. But the 6 steps is basically once they're showing up to your webinar, how to keep them there and how to close the sale. So now again, this is for profitable sales webinars. This is for people that are mostly selling off of webinars, but the same thing applies to if you're selling a strategy call. You just change where the pitch happens, right? So when the first time someone comes to the webinar, you know, they're showing up. I call this the build your buzz phase, right? And the reason it's called build your buzz is the buzz is because you want to keep them on the webinar. So once you have people start to come in the room, you want to create this expectation and anticipation of what they're going to be receiving, right? So, you know, you give them glimpses of like what they're going to learn and how they're going to benefit from what they're going to learn, right? There's also some action items you can do, like welcome your attendees and let them, you know, tell them to close distractions. And, you know, we're waiting for more people. Hey, share news, let your people know about it. We're going to be starting very soon. And these are the things you're going to be able to achieve on this workshop. So make sure you stay till the end, and maybe at the end, hey, I have an opportunity for you guys to get to book a time with me to see if I can help you. You know, so you're seeding that right away so that people know that they need to be there right now. They should not leave. They have to stick. So it creates a stick factor, right?
I love that.
Being on the webinar. So
you're basically pre-framing what they're going to learn, what you're going to cover, what the value to them is going to be, and that you are going to close at some point. Soft.
Yeah, exactly. If there's an opportunity or an offer, you should let them know. Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be an offer like, hey, you frame it however you want to frame it. But the cool thing is, like, hey, I can tell you if first time home buyer, listen, I have an opportunity for you to get on a call with someone from me or someone on my team to see if we can qualify you, or if we can get you, you know, into that first home. Right. So you put that out there, you know, you let them know. And that keeps them there, you know. So stick around to the end. I'm going to share you 5 fundamental things you need if you're a first-time buyer, you know, to be able to get into your first home with no money down, whatever, you know.
Yeah, all the buzzwords.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, fiduciary things. Make sure you're, you know, keeping compliant on all that. But this stuff works even for high, you know, for financial advisors, real estate agents, people that, you know, have to really pay attention and, to what their words are. Right. So,
Okay. So I love that. So step one, build the buzz.
Yeah.
Step two is get personal.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
All right. So, a lot of the key to kind of connecting with people is you have to connect with them on a heart and logic level, right? So the heart is how they resonate with you, right? So, I told you my story, and my story might be like several other people, right? As an agent, you got into this business for a reason, for some reason, right? And you can tell your own personal story as it relates to the people that you're trying to resonate with, right? That you're trying to bring into your book of business, right? So you start to talk about your story. You talk about who you are, your family, where you came from, right? Because possibly you had your own struggles with your first time buying a home, right? What were your personal struggles? So you share that, right? And how you overcame those. And actually, this is why I became an agent in the first place, so that I could help other people with this same process, right?
I love that. Connect on a human level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you start to position your story as it relates to them. You don't want to just share about how awesome you are, like, oh man, I got all these accolades and awards and stuff like that. It's not all about those accolades and awards. It's about sharing where you were at that's similar to them, right? And how you got through it, and how you got through it by your solution. So this is where you start to seed, the problem that people have, the common solution that hasn't served them, what they're doing that's just making them run around in circles and they're super frustrated. And then you're going to show the uncommon solution, the thing that you did to actually get the result, right?
That's great.
The thing that you did to finally buy that home. You know what I mean? So, and that's your framework. That's what you're going to teach on the webinar. You teach the high levels of here's what it is, right? So anyway, that's coming next. But the Get Personal is not for you to flaunt how awesome you are. It's about to show how you relate to them, and then show how you got through it. Then you can show, now this is what I'm doing, and I'm glad I get to serve on this level.
And I love it's not the highlight of your life show. It's really what you can bring to add value to their lives is the message.
Exactly. Now you can, after you do that, you can start to seed, and luckily I've been blessed with being able to, sell $500 million worth of, of product or you
just
can
slide it in.
Just slide it in, it's just let them know. But that's not what you lead with, because no one cares. It's not serving them.
So step one, build buzz. Step two, get personal. Step three, share content and value. I'm guessing this is the meat and potatoes section.
Yeah. So again, this is where, if you have three steps for finally buying your first home, this is where you share it. This is your uncommon solution. This is the thing that's worked for you, that now you get to share these 3, 4, 5 pillars that are high level, right, for them to consume, right? So it's like whatever it is. Oftentimes, it depends on what you're leading with, right? But it's going to depend on what your own business is. Maybe Oliver, you can see it from your own perspective, what those 3 or 4 or 5.
Right. Yeah. It could be anything. I mean, just to go back to some of those examples we talked about, 5 things that you're going to need to know before selling your home, or, 10 mistakes to avoid before buying your first house, or, things like that. Whatever the promise is, that's when you give them what you promised to give them.
Exactly. And the promise is that uncommon solution that they've not figured out yet, right? It's because they've dealt with all the common solution stuff that hasn't worked for them. And so that's where you lead with that. That's your content piece, 30
And
minutes.
that's where you're also able to differentiate yourself from everyone else.
Exactly. I have numbers like I have like how many minutes the buzz should be, getting personal should be, and the main content value. But this is for a 60-minute webinar that you're selling on the back of, right?
Right.
You're selling on. So it would change for basically a strategy call type of webinar, where you don't have to have so much content, right? You more share. It's more about highlighting the big picture pieces, and showing, what that transformation could look like. Right.
Right.
And so,
yeah, it doesn't have to be an hour. I think that's another
Right.
big misconception is if, to your point earlier, if it's only the 3 things you need to do to get ready to buy a house, you could probably explain that in about 15 minutes. So it's not really about going for however particular amount of time. It's really about delivering the value and giving what you told them you were going to give them.
100%. Exactly.
All right, cool. And then step 4 is the close and the pitch. So again, I'm assuming we're going to be trying to get either a phone call, a Calendly appointment set up, or at the very least, a lead with cell phone number and email.
Yeah, exactly. And, right before the close and the pitch, there could be a point where you use what's called future pacing. And you can pepper that into the close and the pitch, where future pacing is basically helping them to visualize being in that home, right? Because if you can help them visualize, just, imagine you in that house, imagine you waking up that morning, and you're getting out of bed with your wife or your husband, and you show them
what would it feel like to be swimming in your pool.
Exactly. What it feels like to be there and to smell the coffee being brewed downstairs, and walking on your, white pine floors or what have you. You know what I mean? So it's like you just start to paint the picture and just imagine that could be you, right? Because it's possible. And so you help with the future pacing of showing them the visualization, and then you can lead into, hey, I would like to, there's an opportunity to get on a call with us to see if we can help you get aligned and put into your first home, So what you can do right now is click here to book a time. We only work with a handful of clients, but those clients, our success rate has been this, you know what I mean? Because close and pitch, at the close and pitch point, even if it is positioning a strategy call, like, you could have testimonials here, right? Of people that have had successes, right? You could
sprinkle in the social proof.
Exactly. You can, like what I have in mind, which again, the close and the pitch are, for my 6 steps are basically selling something on the webinar, right? Which, have the solution, highlight the course or product's benefit of the benefit. But that's kind of the future pacing, taking over that. But again, the things that can also be used for real estate agents is the testimonials, the social proof, other things that they get if they have a conversation with you, like, oh, by the way, you also get this, like, we will assign, a lender to you, or, you get these additional benefits by getting on a call with us, whatever that might be, whether it's a financial audit, whether it's free something or other, you tell me, you probably have ideas around that.
Right.
But definitely highlighting other people who've experienced success from working with you. That's where you do it right here, right?
Definitely.
And, and then you also seed and position it to where, you only work with specific people. And if they, if you want to see if you're a good fit and if we can help you, get on with us, right? And so you're controlling the narrative at that point.
And I love the idea of also at that point offering some sort of a free bonus, right? Like, oh, you get the 21-step seller checklist for free for anyone that takes advantage of this, no cost, no obligation strategy call, or, we'll give you a free XYZ or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and this is interesting because for real estate agents, people care about, getting the right home. They may care about how many points they're being charged. It's very interesting. Like, so there are opportunities to frame up what you can do that others can't do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because what I typically say to my people that are doing webinars is have a price breakdown, or a value stack. Show the value stack when you're selling on a webinar. Now, different for you guys, Value stack simply means now show them why getting on the call with you is the smartest decision they'd be making. You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
That's the value stack, I guess, for an agent would just be accolades, transaction numbers, testimonials, any free bonuses you can add, anything that your team, your brokerage, you as an agent do that other people don't do. That's where you just start to stack the value on top so that it becomes a no-brainer to reach out and contact you over anybody else.
That actually leads to the next one, I think, which
is the Q&A.
Q&A, like if this is an automated webinar, they're not going to be a Q&A, not going to be live Q&A. If it's an automated webinar, that means you pre-record the session and you don't ever act like it's live when it's not, okay? You have to lead with that with integrity on that. So
good distinction, because I know a lot of people do that, and that was one of my questions later on is, do you ever try to act like it's live and have like someone answering Q&A, but it sounds like that's a no.
You could. That's like a hybrid webinar, and in that regard, someone is actually there answering the questions.
Got it.
But what I would oftentimes tell people is use the full automated system where instead of saying, hey, Fred is asking or Jane is asking, have 10 FAQs that are commonly asked about from people that want to work with you that you do on that call, right? So you go in and say, now I'd like to go into 10 common things that I hear from people when they're looking to join us, and have us help them, So then you go in and you handle objections basically by having 10, it could be less than that, but 10 commonly asked questions, that people have asked you before. That way you can hit the objections before someone,
Oh, that's a really good idea. So you're basically saying just put the questions down yourself. Like maybe the 10, we call them the FAQs and the SAQs, the frequently asked questions and the should ask questions. And then if you can put maybe your 5 top frequently asked questions and your 5 top should ask questions, and then just kind of go through those, I could see that being a tremendous value for people.
Yeah. You come from the Mike Koenig school. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, exactly. And you can do it in the webinar. Like that's the benefit. You do it right in the webinar and, crush the objections out. Going back to the idea like, hey, never say it's live when it's not. Oftentimes in an automated webinar, in the beginning of an automated webinar, if you want to try to make sure people aren't pissed off by the end because you're not responding to them, they're asking questions, but you're not responding. Now, we have the ability for you to ask questions and then it pushes into your email and you can respond in real time while you're on the go, right? While you're skydiving.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I do that all the time when people ask me questions. They're like, whoa, you answered me. I wasn't expecting that. But those savvy people know it's an automated webinar. However, we do get people that are like, why aren't you answering my question? What we've done to bring that problem down is we create an expectation at the beginning of the webinar. Say, listen, hey, if you have a question while we're going, I'm going to be answering a lot of commonly asked questions by the end of the workshop. But if you have a question before that time, go ahead and ask it. And either myself or someone from my team will answer you. If it's not on this webinar, during this webinar, it's going to be after. So
we will get back to you though.
We will get back to you. Expect an email response, within 24 to 48 hours
of
your question. And then you handle it ahead of time. It's clear. This is why the whole anticipation expectation of what they're going to consume, that's a part of it. That's a part of their experience, right? So you deal with that at the beginning. You tell them what they're going to get. No one gets pissed off when you maybe make an offer. No one gets pissed off. Everyone's clear in the beginning. So by the end, boom. So you're doing the FAQs, the Q&A section, and then that goes into number 6, which
number 6, which is the final action items.
And in a normal scenario, a final action item is like, hey, here's what you could do right now. And when you're talking about a webinar where you're pitching a product, you're going to ask people. Final action items become like, like if I'm selling on the webinar, I'm thanking my buyers, right? So one thing you could do for real estate agents, you could say like, once you show, hey, here's where you book your time. You can even take them through that flow. Show them that, right? So maybe share your screen and say, here's where you're going to go. Once you click that button, you're going to go to this page. You're going to fill out the application. You fill out the time. Get your time booked in your calendar. Then you're going to go to an application page. We want you to fill this out. This is going to help you, not just us. We can help you so that we're the most informed we can be by the time you get on a call with someone on my team, right? So you can even share that in the webinar, and then you can have more people that are probably taking the action because they see what the action is, ahead of time, right? And then
I like that, yeah.
Another piece of the final action is like giving a final thing for them to do, right? So, hey, there's 2 things you could do right now. We just gave you enough information to take action and apply to the next, when you're buying your first home, or come in with us. We're gonna help you achieve getting your first home faster and, easier and without, a headache in a much faster way, right? So it's almost like you create, hey, hopefully this was of value, this webinar or this presentation, but and if you just go away with the value and you buy your home, whether it's now or 6 months from now, cool. But we can do it faster. We can get you in and we'll make sure we got you covered. So,
and I like the A or B option too, right? Like call us or contact us right now, whatever it is, for a free strategy session, or click the button to book a calendar time right now, or whatever it might be. Or do this other thing, right? Like, or download my free book, or, check out my other video series or whatever. So that way, even if you're not going to get a lead, you might still get them to take the next step in your funnel.
Yeah, get them to do something else. You have them consume some other way of working with you, right? Whether that's an article that's going to position you even better and their situation even better, or
something as simple as connect with us on Facebook, right? Start at least building your audience that way.
Yeah, like it takes the pressure off of, hey, booking a time, right? But still keeps them in your community, right? Because eventually, if it's not that first touch point, it's going to be the second touch point or third touch point, right? A lot of times they're not going to be ready yet. They don't have what it takes to be ready yet, but eventually they will, right? So keep them in your community.
So those are the 6 steps to building a 6-figure webinar. That's a wonderful framework. I think you shared a ton of great tips on that. Some of this other stuff we briefly touched on, but I want to kind of just tighten it up a little bit. If you prefer live or automated, it sounds like you're a big fan of automated, which I am too. I'm just curious, is it do the first one live and then just automate from there, or do you just go straight automated?
No, I mean, there's more room for error when you're doing a book your time, or a strategy call style webinar, right? You could probably jump right into doing automated with that, as long as you have the framework. But I would always recommend, if you feel shaky about that or around that, start live. Push that out. Run live workshops. Get a feel of what people are resonating with. You just get so much more data when you run it live. You get a baseline for what people's excitements are, how many people actually book in your calendar, and then typically if your webinar. So again, sales webinar. My goal is always to convert a sales webinar at 10%, right? I want at least 10%. So if I have 30 people there, I have 3 buying or 3 that become clients.
Leads or whatever, right? Yeah.
Right. My goal is clients. Like I'm like 30 leads come into the webinar. I want 3 solid clients out of it, right? For me.
So 10%, that's a good target. That's good to know.
I like 10%. So in an automated webinar, sometimes, with a live webinar, they're there, you're talking to them in real time. It builds that immediate rapport where it's like, boom, 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 they come in. Now, an automated webinar, typically it's maybe you're talking 5% less conversion, right? So 5% conversion on automated webinar, but you're not doing it, right? So that's the difference, right? And if you're taking them through preceded content that sort of shows how awesome you are first, those conversions could be higher, right? So if they know you more, they might book with you, right?
Okay.
So sometimes doing a webinar in the middle of the funnel or second step, PDF first, webinar second, ebook first, webinar second, Facebook ad where, long form content on Facebook leading to a webinar as a second strategy step. You're gonna warm people up before they get on the webinar, which helps you with the conversions.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the 10% number because I think that's a good thing for people to wrap their head around, because even if you can only get 10 people on the webinar, which is might be what happens the first couple, if you can get one client out of that, it's still well worth it, and it pays for itself tenfold.
Well, that's what I was telling you. Like, I have another webinar which is called the 24, which how to sell your stuff 24/7, and it's about using webinars as systems. So when I first started out, there was no such thing as automated webinars. So I was doing live webinars every single week, one webinar a week, and I promoted that webinar. I was just trying to get 30 people on a workshop, 30 people to show up, because I knew I could sell. I could get 10% of them buying my $1,000 course. And for my goal that first year of just doing everything online was like, I want to make, 6 figures, right? Or more. So I'm making $12,000 a month, just getting 30 people to show up to my workshop once a week. Right. And so that was what I needed to basically get out of the other career I was doing, right? Yeah. Or out of consulting. And then that scaled up from there. But
and I think the point there is it's okay to start small. Like, I think for a lot of people, you don't need 1,000 people on your webinar. You just need a few, and then you need to convert 10%, and you'll make that, profitable for yourself all day long. On the automated side of things, you mentioned earlier, if it is an automated webinar, don't act like it's live. So how are you positioning it if it is automated? Is it like click and watch it right now, or is it we run it 3 times a day, or how does that look?
Well, with our system, you can do either of those, right? You can have it run where it pushes directly to an instant replay, which is like on demand, or you can have, and in the same registration options, you can have 3 future times, right? 3 future dates that stream in your attendee's local time zone. So we do this, what we call schedule stacking, where you can have multiple options for people depending on what they're looking to consume. But and I'd always say, call it a streamed workshop, call it don't call it, hey, come join my live webinar. However, it does stream in real time. So our webinar platform streams videos in real time. So if someone shows up and they're 5 minutes late, they're missing the first 5 minutes of the webinar because it has the experience of live. Right?
Yeah, which is cool. And then to take it a step further, if you did want to make it feel live, you can have someone on just to answer questions that come through. That way, people aren't like, hey, what the heck? I asked a question. No one's getting back to me. At least there's someone there monitoring the feed. They can answer all the questions. And then it still has that live feel, even though it's not live.
Yeah, that's kind of like called simulated live, right? Where it's not purely automated. It's where, you schedule it at a specific time zone. Obviously, it has to be in one time zone to have someone actually handling the questions and stuff. And then, you run it as a live webinar, but play the webinar video in there and have someone on your team answering questions in the live scenario. So we do that. That's something you can also do with our platform.
Very cool. I love that. And for the people that want to find out more about that, is there a good link or any type of specials you have going on or anything like that? Or how can people find out more?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to easywebinar.com, you could just check out the platform. We have a 14-day trial, but also you'll see there are masterclass links at the top of easywebinar.com. I just taught today the 6-step framework. That's one of my masterclasses. The other one is what I just mentioned as well, how to sell your stuff 24/7. So if you're looking at how to create webinar systems, how to use webinars to basically build leads and get more clients, the 24/7 might be a good one, because that's talking about promotion, talking about different ways you can get people on. And then the 6-step webinar is all about how once people show up to a webinar, here are the 6 things you need to close the sale, right? So both are on easywebinar.com, and you can sign up for any.
Imagine that you can go on and watch a webinar.
yeah, right away. Choose which
but to your point though, I mean, what a perfect way to sell it. Here's value. Here's how you can use it in your business. We're going to show you how to do it. Here's some ideas for you to implement it. Now go take action.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not only the hair club president, I'm a user, right?
That's
So,
right.
all right.
I love it. So I just have a couple questions that I like to wrap up with. Outside of doing webinars, what are some of your favorite tools, apps, softwares that just help you run a better business?
Slack is obviously what we use for team communication.
Okay.
We have more than 20 people that we work with, and we're a virtual company. So everybody is remote. Obviously now everybody is remote.
Yeah.
So that's why it was okay that my wife and I were like, we got to get out of LA with our 3 kids and come live on the farm for 4 months. And I'm still like doing these, even though I have a tie-dyed wall right here. Still, it's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Slack is a good one. We use platforms like ChartMogul to track our analytics. We're a SaaS platform, so I'm just
Very
sharing with you
cool.
SaaS
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I like to hear it all.
Okay, yeah, ChartMogul, that helps us to know our numbers, our churn rate, our conversions from trial to paid user, what our run rate is, how much money you're going to make next month, da da da. So we use that religiously. We use our own tool, obviously Easy Webinar, as our main tool for lead gen and nurturing people. We use Basecamp as our main place for posting. Here are all the actions we want in this, for this week, this quarter, this month. They're all in Basecamp. So those are the things.
Cool. So Basecamp is project management software for those that don't know. So that's another good one. And what was the other one you said? ChartMogul? I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, ChartMogul.
Very cool. And then one thing that I always like to wrap with is just obviously you've built a very successful business. Things are going well for you guys. So congrats on that. I'm just curious, what's one thing that you wish you knew sooner in business that would have helped you either get to the next level faster or go bigger or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it was getting out of my own way. Would have been it. The boring stuff about creating an organization, as boring as it is, are the things that move the needle the most, I think. Knowing your numbers, knowing how much money you have coming in, knowing how much you are willing to spend, and having strong people, good people working for you, the rock stars that can move the needle for you. And
Yes.
For me, it was like I was doing it all myself for a while, and you burn out. So for me, it was just learning how to be better, and I'm always learning, right? I'm like definitely always learning, but just learning how to be a better leader through hiring the right people, relying on people's abilities, and also just thinking more as an organization than just like entrepreneur or what have you. Right?
No, I love that. So setting up more of the structures earlier, hiring right, maybe hiring earlier than you thought you would have.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't, we're poised to, we have all of our stats or data. If we were to be acquired, we have all the numbers to be acquired, right? Before then, 2 years, 3 years ago, I didn't have any of that. I didn't have all the numbers, all the data points, all the things that somebody else would want to buy us. It's helped us to grow because we know our numbers now. We know where we have problems, where we have gaps, where we need to fill those gaps. So visibility in the day-to-day, visibility in what we're doing, how we're doing it, and also visibility in what my team members are doing. And it's needed. We needed to do it because we're a virtual company. So it's like we needed more of that. We had to figure it out through virtual means. So it's much harder. If you're in an office, you can see people, you know what they're doing, you can keep them accountable. But even then, so we have people, our employees are pushed through Hubstaff, and we can see what they're doing. It's taking screenshots of their computers if needed and stuff like that. So visibility and knowing that everybody is driving towards the same same end game, right? Culture as well. So it was culture, organization, and accountability and visibility, I think.
Love it, man. That's great advice. So I just want to say thank you again. Big shout out to everyone that was watching live in the Real Closers Facebook group. If you're watching on some other platform, if you have any questions, put them in the box down below. Give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you on the next one. And again, Casey, really appreciate your time, man. A lot of great insight on how we can use webinars in our real estate businesses to become more successful. And I'll look forward to meeting you one of these days face to face.
Yes, exactly.
Cool, man.
Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
a lot.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Right on, man. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.